Hi guys! Welcome back to another video of Codehal. In this tutorial, we will create a full-stack website with login and register form using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, and MySQL database. Here, you can see a navbar with a logo, navbar links, and a login button. Then, down here, there is a text, "Hey developer." When we click this login button, the login form appears with an amazing animation. Then when we click the register link, the register form appears, and the login form is hidden. And vice versa, when we click the login link, the login form appears, and the register form is hidden. The transition between these forms also has a cool animation. And if we click this cross icon, then the form is hidden again. Okay, now we will try to do the registration process. After all the input fields are filled, we click the register button, then we will receive an alert message with the text, "Registration successful," and there is a progress bar animation in the alert. Then we will also be directly directed to the login form. Okay, let's check in the database. And yeah, you can see the data that we entered, such as name, email, and password that has been encrypted, has been successfully saved into the MySQL database. Now we will try to register with the same email. Click the register button, then an error message will appear with the text, "Email is already registered," and the form still displays the register form, not switching to the login form. And the data will not be added to the database. This ensures that each email can only be used once. Now let's register again using a different email. For example, I use this email. After successfully registering, we can check in the database. And new data with a different email has been successfully saved to the database. Okay, next we will try to log in. If we enter the wrong email or password, we click the login button, then an error message will appear, "Incorrect email or password." But if the data we enter is correct, then we click login, then login is successful. And you can see here, the login button has disappeared and replaced with a user avatar. In this user avatar, it displays the first letter of the username that is currently logged in. If we click this avatar, a drop-down menu will appear. And in this drop-down there is My Account and Logout. Then if we click the avatar again, the drop-down menu is hidden again. After that, you can see down here, the username that is currently logged in is displayed. The previous text was "Hey developer," and now because we are logged in, then the text changes to "Hey" and then followed by the username. Okay, now we will try to log out of this account. We can click the avatar and click Log Out. Now we have successfully logged out of our account. And now the login button appears again. And the text down here also changes back to developer. Alright, let's start creating a full-stack website with login and registration form using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, and MySQL database. But before we continue, don't forget to press the like button and subscribe to my channel, Codehal, so you don't miss other interesting tutorials about web development and design. And now let's get started. Alright, here I've prepared a folder named login_register, which contains one HTML file, one CSS file, and one image that we will use as the background in our website. Next, I will open these files using my code editor, which is Visual Studio Code. However, you are also free to use any code editor according to your preference. Okay, this is the HTML file that I have prepared with a basic HTML structure. I have also added a link tag to connect this HTML file with the style.css file. Then this is the CSS file. Inside, I have imported a font from Google Fonts and added several CSS properties such as margin, padding, box sizing, and font family. These properties are applied to all HTML elements using the universal selector. If you want to use this initial setup, I have provided a download link in the video description. You can directly download it and follow the steps in this video. Next, we will run this project using the Live Server extension in Visual Studio Code. With Live Server, we can see changes directly in the browser without needing to manually refresh the page. Currently, we see a blank page in the browser. This happens because we have not added any code inside the body yet. And now, let's add code inside the body tag to start building this project. We start by creating a navbar. First, we can create a header tag. Inside it, we create an anchor tag with the class, logo, and also containing the text, logo. Next, we add a nav element, which contains 4 links, namely home, about, collection, and contact. After that, we add a div with the class userAuth to manage the user authentication element. Inside userAuth, we add a button with the class loginBTN modal, which will be used to display the login form when clicked. Now we can see the navbar elements on the page. Next, we will create styling with CSS to make the navbar look better and more attractive. We start from the header element. We add the following properties. We set position fixed, top 0 and left 0 to make sure the navbar is always at the top when we scroll. Width 100% makes it fill the screen width. Padding, top-bottom 20 pixels, left-right 100 pixels to give space inside the navbar. Then for now we give background sea green so that you can clearly see the elements inside the navbar, because we will give those elements white color. After that, there is display flex and align item center to make the elements inside arranged horizontally and aligned vertically. And finally z-index 99 ensures the navbar is on top of other elements. Next for the class logo. We set font size 30 pixels to make it large enough, color white, text decoration none so the text does not have an underline, then font weight 700 to make the text bolder and margin right auto to push other elements to the right side. For the links inside the nav element, we give color white, text decoration none, font weight 500, and margin left 40 pixels to give spacing between links. After that, the userAuth element. We only need to give margin left 40 pixels to have the same spacing as between the links. Next for the loginBTN modal element. We give height 40 pixels, padding, top-bottom 0, left-right 35 pixels, background transparent, border, 2 pixels solid FFF to give white border radius 40 pixels makes the left and right sides of the button curved, font size 16 pixels, color white, font weight 500, cursor pointer to indicate the element can be clicked, and transition 0.5 seconds gives a smooth effect when hovered. And when the login button element is hovered, background becomes white and color becomes grayish black. Okay, now we can see the result. Yeah, now the navbar looks better and more attractive. Next, we will add a background and a little text. So, here we can add a section. And inside the section, we only need to add a heading 1, which contains the text, "Hey developer." Okay, now we will create styling for these 2 elements. First for the section element. Min height 100 viewport height so the height of the section is always the same as the full screen height. Background size cover so that the image fills the entire section area without distortion. Background position center to position the image in the center. And padding, top-bottom 0, left-right 100 pixels. Then for the background URL, make sure the image name and format are the same as the image we have. And here, we add no repeat, so the image does not repeat. Okay, next for the heading 1 element inside the section. Position absolute so the element can be freely positioned inside the parent. Bottom 40 pixels to place the element 40 pixels from the bottom of the section. Then there is font size, color, and font weight. Now we can see the section appearance that we have styled. The background image appears fully covering the screen height, and the text is at the bottom with white color. Next, before we create the login form, we will change the green background on this navbar into a glass effect. So, we can go to the header element. Then delete this background property. Now we can see the navbar looks transparent. And now we just need to add the backdrop filter property, then blur, and I will set the value to 20 pixels. So, this property is used to give a blur effect on the background when using transparency. Okay, let's see. Now the navbar looks even better and looks like there is a glass effect on the navbar. Next, we will create the login and register form. We create the main element with a div that has the class auth modal. This will be the modal for login and register. First, we will create the login form. So, inside it, we create another div with the class formBox and login, which will be a special container for the login form. Then, we add an h2 tag with the text login as the form title. After that, we add a form tag. Inside the form, we create a div with the class input box. Then an input with type email, name email. This name attribute will be used as a reference when we get to the backend part later. Then placeholder email. And finally, required, so the input cannot be empty. Okay, now we just need to copy this input box div. And change type email to password, name, password, and placeholder, password, and also required. Okay, now we will add icons for these two input fields. So we can go to the Box Icons website. To use it, we can click Docs. Then usage as font, and copy this code. Then paste it inside our HTML head tag. After that, click Icons to search for the icons we want. We can check Free Icons and enable Fill, because I want the entire shape of the icon to be colored. First, we will search for the icon for email. So we can write here Envelope, and we will choose this icon. Then click this to copy the code. After that, we can paste it below this email input. Next, the icon for password. We can search for lock. We choose this icon, and click again to copy it. Now paste it below the password input. Okay, next, now we can add a button tag with type submit. Don't forget to also add the name attribute login_btn. And class, btn. And for the text it's login. Lastly, we create a paragraph. Don't have an account. Then inside it we create a link to switch to the register form later, then we can add the class register link. And the text register. Don't forget to save. And now we can see the initial layout structure of the login form like this. Next, we will add styling with CSS to make this login modal look good. First, for the element with the class auth modal, we give the following properties. Position fixed to make the modal always stay in the same place and not move when scrolling. Width 420 pixels and height 440 pixels to set the modal size. Background gives a transparent black color. Border creates a white transparent border. Border radius 20 pixels to round the corners of the modal. Box shadow adds a shadow effect. Backdrop filter blur creates a blur effect on the modal background. Color makes the text inside the modal white. Inset 0 and margin auto make the login modal centered on the page. Display flex and align items center to arrange the modal content vertically centered. Then for formBox, we give width 100% and padding 40 pixels so the form content does not stick to the modal sides. For H2 inside the formBox, we give font size 35 pixels and text align center so the form title looks large and centered. Next, for each input box, we set position relative with 100% and height 50 pixels, as well as margin, top-bottom 30 pixels and left-right 0. and for the input itself. Width and height 100% to fill the entire space. Background transparent. Border, for a transparent white border. Outline none removes the default black outline when the input is active. Border radius 40 pixels. Font size 16 pixels. Color white. Padding, top 20 pixels, right 45 pixels, bottom 20 pixels, and left 20 pixels to give space inside the input, especially on the right side for the icon. Then for the placeholder in the input, we also give it white color. Next, for the icon inside the input. Position absolute, right 20 pixels, top 50% and transform translate y, minus 50%, to center the icon vertically, and font size 20 pixels. For the button, we set width 100% and height 45 pixels, background white, border radius, border none, box shadow, font size, color, font weight, and the cursor changes to pointer when hovered. Then, for the paragraph text inside the form box, we give it font size, text align center, and margin, top 25 pixels, left-right 0, and bottom 10 pixels. Lastly, for the link inside the paragraph, we give it color, text decoration, none, and font weight. Then on hover, we add underline with text decoration, underline. Okay, now we can see the login form looks good and very modern. Now we will add a close icon to close this login modal. So here, we can add a button element with the class closeBTN modal. Then we can go back to the box icons website to find a close icon. So we can type X. Choose this one, and click this again. And paste it inside the button element. Next, we add styling for this modal close button. We give it position absolute so this button can be freely placed inside the modal. Top 0 and right 0, place it right at the top right corner of the modal. Width and height 45 pixels. Background white, border none. Border bottom left radius 20 pixels rounds the bottom left corner of the button. Then font size, color, cursor pointer, and z-index 1 ensure this button appears above other elements inside the modal. Oh, it looks like there's a slight issue with the icon. I try deleting this letter S or solid, so the icon becomes outline type. Okay, now we can see the close button in the top right corner of the modal. Okay, next we will create the registration form. To create the registration form, we only need to copy this form box login div along with all of its child elements. Then paste it here. First, we change the login class to register. Then change the heading text to register. Now add one more input field for the name input. We can copy one of the input box and change the type from email to text, name to name, and placeholder to name as well. Then we can search again for an icon for the name input. We can type user and select this icon. Then copy the code. Delete this and paste here. Okay, let's continue. Now we change the name attribute on this button to register_btn. Then change the button text to register. Finally, change this paragraph text to already have an account. Then the link class to login link and the link text to login. Okay, now we can see the register form has appeared on our website page. Next, we will move this register form out of our modal container so that we can hide it later. So we can go to the CSS file. Copy this one and add .register. Then we can set position absolute and transform translate X and we will set the value to 400 pixels. This will shift the register form 400 pixels to the right so it is outside the modal area. Okay, if we see it now, the register form is already outside the modal area. Next, we will go into the JavaScript section to make these two forms switch between login and register. Now, we will create a JavaScript file. Click New File. Name it script.js. Then make sure to link our JavaScript file to the index.html file. Type here, before the closing body tag, script src script.js. Once connected, now we can write JavaScript code here. We start by selecting the elements that will be used to control the authentication modal. Now, we have a variable named authModal. This variable is used to store the element with the class name authModal, which is selected using query selector. Then we have the variable login link to store the login link element and register link to store the register link element. Next, we will add click events to register link and login link. So, when this register element is clicked, we add the slide class to the authModal element. Conversely, when login link is clicked, we remove the slide class from the authModal. Okay, now we will check it in inspect element. So, when we click the register link, the slide class is added to the authModal element. And when we click the login link, the slide class is removed from the authModal element. Okay, everything is working well. We can go back to the code editor and go to the CSS file. First, for the authModal element itself. Oh yeah, for those of you who are still confused, the authModal element is the wrapper or container element of the login and register forms. So, if authModal has the slide class, then we increase the height value to 520 pixels. If the slide class is removed from authModal, then the height value will return to 440 pixels. Now we will add the transition property so the modal height change becomes smooth. So, we can write transition for height, duration, 0.2 seconds, and the transition type or timing function ease. Now, if we click the register link, the modal height will increase, and if we click the login link, the modal height will return to the original. Back to the code editor. First for the login form. So here, if authModal has the class slide, then we move the login form as far as -400 pixels. That means the login form will move to the left and will exit the container. And when it moves, it does not have a smooth transition because here we give transition none. Okay, then when the slide class is removed from the container, then the login form will return into the container by giving it a translate x value of 0 and giving a transition value so that it is smoother when returning into the container. Now, you can see if we click register, then the login form moves directly without transition and exits the container. On the contrary, if we click login, then the login form returns into the container and with a smooth transition. Now for the register form. So here, we can add comma. Then, if authModal has the class slide, then the register form enters into the container and with a smooth transition. So, if authModal has the class slide, then the login form exits the container, then the register form will enter into the container. Likewise, if the slide class is removed from authModal, then the register form exits the container, then the login form will enter into the container. Now we can see, if click register, the login form exits the container, the register form enters the container. If click login, the login form returns into the container, and the register form exits the container. Okay, now we will hide both of these forms when they exit the container. So, on the authModal element, we only need to add the property overflow, hidden. Okay, now you can see the modal looks good and the form that exits from the modal has been hidden. Next we will make this login button and close button work. First, on the authModal element, we only need to add the property transform scale 0. This property is used to change the size, enlarge or shrink the element, and because we give the value 0, then the element is shrunk until it is completely invisible. So, now the modal element is really no longer visible on the screen. Then we can go to the JavaScript file. Just copy this one. We will take the login button element and close button. Change the variable name to login btn modal. And we will take this login btn modal element. Paste here. Then copy again. Change to close btn modal. And we will take this element. Paste here. Next we will add click events for both of these elements. So we can copy this one. Change to login btn modal. Then change class slide to show. Copy again. And change to close btn modal. Change add to remove. So, when the login button is clicked, we add the show class to auth modal. Then when the close button is clicked, we remove the show class from auth modal. Okay, then here we can write auth modal.show transform scale 1. So if auth modal has the show class, then the modal will be enlarged to its original size. And if the show class is removed from auth modal, then the modal will be shrunk again until it is not visible. Then here, we add one more transition for transform 0.5 seconds ease 2 so that the transition animation becomes smooth. Now let's see the result. We click the login button, modal appears with a smooth animation. Click the close button, modal is hidden. And here you can see, if when we click the close button but the form shows the register form, then when we click the login button, the first form that appears is still the register form. We don't want it like this. We want the first form that appears to return to the login form. So, we just need to remove the slide class from auth modal. We can add it here when the close button is clicked, comma, remove slide class 2. So, when the close button is clicked, we remove two classes, namely show and slide class. Now, even though the last form shows register, we click close, then click login again, then the form returns to be the login form. Okay, next, before we go into the backend part, we will design first for the user avatar along with the drop-down menu. For now, we temporarily hide this login btn modal element. We can add inline CSS here, style, display, none. And now, the login button has been hidden. Okay, inside this userAuth div, we add one more div with the class name profile box. Inside it, we make a div with the class avatar circle. With the text, for example, see. Then, add one more div with the class dropdown. Inside it, add two links, namely my account and logout. Now the avatar and drop-down elements have been successfully displayed on our website. Let's do the styling. First for the avatar circle element. Width and height 40 pixels. Background white. Border radius 50% makes it completely round. Line height 40 pixels equalizes the line height with the element height so that the text inside is vertically aligned. Text align center centers the initial letter horizontally. Font size, color, font weight. And cursor pointer indicates that this element can be clicked. Then for the drop-down menu. Position absolute, top 85 pixels, and right 100 pixels positions the menu exactly below to the right of the avatar. Padding 10 pixels gives space inside the drop-down container. Background white. Border radius 8 pixels rounds the corners of the drop-down. Display flex and flex direction column arrange the drop-down content vertically. Next for each link inside the drop-down. Padding, top-bottom 6 pixels, left-right 12 pixels. Border radius, color, text decoration none, font weight. Margin, top-bottom 2 pixels, left-right 0. And transition point 2 seconds for smooth hover effect. Lastly, when hovering over the link, we give background light gray. Okay, now the avatar and drop-down already look good. Next, we will make this avatar work when clicked, so when the avatar is clicked the drop-down will appear, then when clicked again, the drop-down is hidden. First, we will hide the drop-down element first. So here, we add, transform, translate Y, 20 pixels, to shift the drop-down slightly downward, and so that later when it appears it looks like it's moving upward. Then opacity, 0, makes the drop-down invisible. And pointer events, none, so it cannot be clicked when in hidden state. Okay, now the drop-down has been hidden. Next, we can go to the JavaScript file. Here we will take two more elements. First, the profile box element. Then, the avatar circle element. Next, we will add a click event to the avatar circle. We can copy this one. Change to avatar circle. Then auth modal, we change to profile box. Then change add to a toggle. So, when avatar circle is clicked, if profile box does not yet have the show class, that class will be added. And if profile box already has the show class, that class will be removed. Now we go back to the CSS file. Here we can write, if profile box has the show class, then the drop-down element. Transform, translate Y, 0, returns it to its original position. Opacity, 1, makes it visible. And pointer events, auto, reactivates user interaction. And if the show class is removed from profile box, then it will run these properties. Then finally, we add, transition, 0.5 seconds, so that the appearing or hiding effect becomes smooth. Now, if we click, the drop-down element appears, we click again, drop-down is hidden. Next, we will hide this avatar, and then show the login button again. We move this display none to the profile box element. Now the avatar has been hidden, and the login button has appeared again. Okay, then we will design the alert message. So here, we can make a div with the class alert box. Inside it, make another div with the class alert and success. Then we can go back to the website box icons. And we search for check. I choose this icon. And copy the code. Paste here. After that, make a span tag with the text, registration, successful. Next, we style it. First for the alert box element. Position fixed ensures the alert always stays in the screen position, not affected by scrolling. Top 35 pixels. Inset 0 and margin, top bottom 0, left right auto to position the element horizontally to the center. Width 350 pixels and height 70 pixels defined the alert size. Background white. Border radius 6 pixels rounds the corners of the alert box. Padding, top bottom 0, left right 15 pixels gives horizontal space inside the alert. Z-index 100 ensures the alert appears above other elements. And overflow hidden hides any content that overflows the bounds, in this case the progress bar on the alert. Then for the alert element. Display flex and align items, center align the icon and text vertically. Height 100% ensures full height according to alert box. Then color and font weight. Next we create a progress bar on the alert using the pseudo element after. Content empty. Position absolute, bottom 0, left 0, and width 100% stretches the progress bar at the bottom of the alert. Height 5 pixels for the line thickness. And background green for success alert. Then for error alert, we change the background color to red. Lastly, we style the icon inside the alert. Font size 35 pixels. Color green for success alert. and margin right 8 pixels gives space from the text. For error alert, we change the icon color to red. Okay, now we already have an alert with a progress bar under the alert. Now we will animate this progress bar. So, here we create keyframes with the animation name, progress. 100% or the final state, width 0. So, in the initial state or 0%, the progress bar has width 100%, then the animation will run toward the final state or 100%, making the width of the progress bar shrink from full to 0. Then here, we add animation name, progress, animation duration we make 6 seconds, then animation type, linear, and finally, forwards, to ensure that after the animation is complete, the element will maintain the final appearance of the animation, not return to the initial state. Okay, now we can see the result. We reload. And yeah, the progress bar animation is working well. Next, we will make this alert hide above our computer screen, then appear for 6 seconds, and after that hide again. First, on this alert box element, we add transform, translate y, calculate -100%. Usually by just writing the value -100%, the element will go outside the container or in this case our computer screen. But because this element has top 35 pixels, the alert is still partially visible, not completely hidden. So here we need to subtract by the top value, which is 35 pixels. So the alert is completely hidden above. Okay, now the alert is completely hidden above our computer screen. Next we go to the JavaScript file. Copy this one, and we will take the alert box element. Now let me write the code first. So, here we add the show class to the alert box element after 50 milliseconds. This show class we will use to display the alert. Then the alert lasts for 6 seconds, and after 6 seconds, the show class on the alert box element is removed. And 1 second after that, the alert box element is removed from the DOM or HTML structure. Next we can go to the CSS file and add this code. So, if alertbox has the show class, we change the translate y value to 0. This will show the alert because it returns the alert to the original position. And here, we add transition, duration 0.5 seconds, ease for the transition type. This will make the alert appear and hide smoothly. Okay, now we can try to reload. And yeah, now the alert has appeared and will last for 6 seconds. After the progress bar is finished, the alert hides again. So this alert we will use later for success or error messages when users perform login and register processes. Okay, since we are moving on to the backend part, we will temporarily add display none to the alert so that when the page reloads, the alert does not appear continuously. We can copy this inline CSS and paste it on the alert box element. Later, we will remove this display none when we add PHP logic for the alert. Okay, the next step, we move on to the backend part. We can close this page tab first. Next, change the file name index.html to index.php. Files with the .php extension allow us to use the PHP programming language that is needed. This change is important so the server can recognize this file as a PHP file. After that, for now, we can close the code editor because we will move the location of this project folder. Here I will use XAMPP as a local server, but you are also free to choose another local server according to your preference. If you don't have this software yet, you can download and install it first. Okay, I assume you have installed this software. Now move our project folder into the htdocs folder located in the XAMPP installation directory. Open the XAMPP installation folder, then go into the htdocs folder and paste here. This htdocs folder is the default location where the Apache server reads project files. This ensures our files can be accessed through the local server. After our project folder is moved here, open our code editor again to continue development. Next, we open the XAMPP application, run the Apache and MySQL modules by clicking the Start button on each module. The Apache module functions as the server to run PHP files, while MySQL is used to manage our project database. Make sure both of these modules are running before continuing to the next step. After both of these modules are active, we can access the project through the browser by typing the address localhost/project folder name. In this tutorial, my project folder name is login_register. This page will display our project interface through the local server. Make sure the project folder name you use matches what is typed in the URL, then press Enter to load it, and the server will automatically look for the default file in the requested directory. If the page loads successfully, we can see the website view that has been created in the default file, which is index.php. Next, because we don't have a database yet, we will create a database using MySQL with the help of PHP MyAdmin. To start, we open a new tab in the browser, type localhost/PHP MyAdmin. Then press Enter. Now we are on the PHP MyAdmin page. PHP MyAdmin is a web-based tool designed to simplify the management of MySQL databases. And now, let's create a new database. Click the Databases tab at the top. Enter the database name in the database name field, for example, users_db. Then click the Create button. After the database is successfully created, we will create a table inside it. Enter the table name in the table name field, for example, users, and the number of columns is 4. Then click the Create button to continue. Then fill in the columns with the following settings. For the first column, we fill in ID. Data type is integer to store numbers, leave length empty. Index, select primary to set this column as a unique identifier, and click Go. Then check auto increment so the ID value increases automatically. Then for the second column, we fill in name. Data type select varchar to store text. And in the length column, we fill in 255 because this length is sufficient to store most names without burdening the database storage too much. After that, for the third column, which is email, select data type varchar as well, and length, also 255. Then for index, select unique to prevent duplicate emails, and give a name, for example, email unique. Then click Go. And lastly, for the password column, select data type varchar as well, and length, also 255. This is to store password hashes. Next, click the Save button to save the table. Now, we can see the users table that has been created with the columns according to the previous settings. Next, we will write PHP code to connect our project with the database that was just created. Now we create a new file and give it the name config.php. And here, we will create a connection to the database using PHP. Here we have defined several variables that will be used to set up the connection to the MySQL database. First, there is the host variable, which stores the database server address. In this tutorial, we use the value localhost, which means the database server is on the same computer as our PHP project. Next, the user variable is used to store the username that has access to MySQL. By default, this username is usually root. Then, the password variable is used to store the password of the MySQL user. Since we are using a local setup, here I leave it empty, which means no password is required. Then, there is the database variable, which stores the name of the database we want to access. The value of this variable is the name of the database that we previously created, which is users_db. After that, we also define the con variable, which is used to store the database connection object. Here we use new MySQLi, which means we are creating a new object from the MySQLi class. When this object is created, it immediately tries to connect to the database based on the values provided in the arguments. This connection process is done automatically when the MySQLi object is created. After the connection is made, we immediately check if a connection error occurred by using connect error from the con object. If an error occurs, the program will stop its process using the die function and display a message in the form of connection failed, followed by the error description taken from the connect error property. However, if the connection is successful, the program will continue execution without displaying anything. Next, we will make the login and register forms work. Now we go to the index.php file. First, we add the method attribute with the value post on the login form, and then on the register form. This is one way to send data from the form to the server. Then for the destination location of the form data submission, we fill it in the action attribute, which is a file named auth_process.php. Then in the login form, the data from the form will also be sent to the auth_process.php file to be processed. Since we don't have the auth_process file yet, we will create it first. Click New File, then give it the name auth_process.php. This file will be the destination of the form data submission, and we will add logic to process the data received from the form. Now we start by creating the logic for the registration process, and let me write the code first, then I will explain it. Okay, first we call the session start function. This function is used to start a PHP session. Sessions allow us to store user data on the server side so it can be used across multiple pages. Then we use require once to import the config.php file, which contains the connection configuration to the MySQL database. Then we check using the isEt function. In other words, simply put, we check whether the register button has been clicked. If the register button has been clicked, then we run this block of code. Here we have defined several variables: name, email, and password to store input data received from the HTML form. Password stores the password data that is encrypted using password hash with the password default algorithm. This ensures the password is stored securely in the database, because the password will not be stored in plain text in the database. Here we define the checkEmail variable. This variable is used to store the result of the SQL query using the query method from the con object. This con object comes from the config.php file, which is used to connect to the MySQL database. So here we tell the database like this: select or fetch data from the email column in the users table, where the value of the email column is equal to the value of the email variable. Simply put, this query is used to check whether there is an email that is already registered in the users table. If number rows is greater than 0, this means if the email is already registered in the database, we create a session with the key name alerts. This session has an error type, and the message content is like this: email is already registered. Later we will use this session to display the error message during the registration process. Besides that, we also store the active form status in the session active form with the value register, so that the page continues to show the registration form when displaying the error message. Then, if the email is not yet registered, we add new user data into the users table using an insert query. So, we tell the database like this: insert new data into the users table in the name, email, and password columns, with each value taken from the name, email, and password variables. Then we again store the message into the alerts session with the success type, And also create the active form session for login, so that when registration is successful, the form directly switches to the login form. Lastly, we use the header function to redirect the user back to the main page after the process is complete. And stop the script execution using the exit function. This ensures no other code runs after the redirect. Next, we will create the logic to handle the login process. Here we check whether the login button has been clicked using the isEt function as well. Then we also define several variables. The email variable to store the email data entered by the user, and the password variable to store the password data. Then the result variable within SQL query like this. So we tell the database like this. Select or fetch all columns from the users table where the value of the email column is equal to the value of the email variable. So simply put, this query is used to search for all user data based on the email entered by the user. If number rows is greater than 0 or if the email is found, we fetch the user data from the query result using the fetch association method, and the result will be stored in the user variable. If there is no result, then the value of user is null. Then we check these two conditions. If the user data exists or is found, and the password entered by the user matches the password in the database. Here we use password verify to match the plain password entered by the user with the previously encrypted password hash in the database. Okay, if everything matches, this means if the user successfully logs in, we store the user's name into the name session. We will use this session to display the user's name on our website and also use it for the initials in our avatar. Besides that, we also again create an alerts session with the success type and with the message content login successful. Then, if the user data is not found or the password is incorrect, then we store the error message into the alerts session with the error type. And we also create the active form login session, so that when the page is redirected to index.php, the login form remains displayed. Lastly, we redirect the user back to the main page using header. Then stop the script execution using exit. Next, we will retrieve the session data stored on our website page when we are performing the login or register process. Now, we go to the index.php file. First, right here, above our HTML structure. First, as usual, we call session start. This function is used to start a PHP session so that we can access the stored session data. Then we define three variables. First, the name variable to store the username data taken from the session. If this value does not exist, then it will be null. Here we use the null coalescing operator to return the default value if the key is not found. Then, the alerts variable used to store all alert types and text messages from the alert session. If there is no alert yet, then it will be filled with an empty array as the default value. And lastly, the active form variable used to store the active form status, which is whether the login or register form should be displayed on the HTML page. Its value is taken from the active form session or its default is an empty string. After that, we need to add session onset. This function is used to delete all variables registered in the session. In other words, the session will be emptied, but the session itself remains active. It means like this. I give one example, for instance when a user gets an alert message. Then the user reloads or refreshes our website page, then if we do not write session onset, that alert message will always appear on the page because we do not delete the session. So we need to add session onset. And this also applies to name and active form. Okay, continue. Lastly, specifically for name, we return the username into the session only if the name variable is not null. The purpose of this is so that the username data remains available even if we reload the page. Because, if we do not write this line of code, then when the page reloads, the username session will also be deleted, which means the user will be logged out of their account even though they have not clicked the logout button. So, specifically for name, we will delete the session only when the user clicks the logout button. We will create that later. Now let's continue. We can delete the inline CSS on this profile box because we will replace it with PHP logic. We add PHP tags here. If not empty, $name, : Then here, open the PHP tag again, else, : And here, and if, semicolon. Okay, so we check whether the $name variable is not empty. This variable comes from the name session data that we have previously set. This means, if the user has logged in, then the content inside this block will be displayed. But if the user has not logged in, that is the else condition, then this login button will be displayed. And we close the if block to end the condition. Then for this C text, we can delete it. We add PHP tags again. The writing of this equal sign is the same as writing PHP echo. So we can write it shortly like this. Then, string to upper, $name, 0. So, here we will print or display the first letter of the user's name and convert it to uppercase. Okay, next, because we have made a statement like this, so that there is no error, then we need to add an if condition on the login btn modal element and the avatar circle. So here, we can write if login btn modal. And on the avatar circle, if avatar circle. So, if the login btn modal element exists or is found, then we run the event listener for this element. And this is also the same. If the avatar circle element exists or is found, then we run the event listener for this element. Okay, we can go back to index.php. Next, we will also display the name of the user who is currently logged in. First, we can delete this developer text. Then, create a short echo tag, $name, : or we call it null coalescing operator, developer. So, if the user is not logged in, then the text that will be displayed is, hey, developer, as the default value. But, if the user is already logged in, for example the user's name is Codehal, then the text that will be displayed is, hey, followed by the user's name, which is Codehal. Next, for the alert. Now we can delete this inline CSS, because we don't need it anymore. Then we can copy this. Then paste here. Change the name variable to alerts. Then we close the if block. Paste here. So we check, if alerts is not empty, then this HTML element will be displayed. Then here, we make PHP tags again, for each, alerts as alert. And also close the for each block. So we loop through each element in the alerts array. Okay, next, here you can see, previously we have created alerts with type success and error. So we can delete this success class. Create a short echo tag, alert, type. So if the alert type is success, then the class that is added is success, and if the alert type is error, then the class that is added is error. After that, for the alert icon, we can delete this class. So, if the alert type is success, then the check icon will be displayed, but if it's not the success type, meaning it's the error type, then the cross icon will be displayed. Finally, the text in the alert. Delete this. Add a short echo tag, alert, message. This will display the alert message. Okay, because we have created PHP logic like this, then in the JavaScript, we need to add if alert box. Then we move or put these lines of code into the if block. So, if the alert box element exists or is found, then we run these codes. This is to prevent errors due to elements not being found in the DOM or HTML structure. Okay, back to index.php. Finally, for the active form status when the user receives a success or error alert message. In the class of this auth modal element, we can add this code. So, if active form is equal to register, then we add the class show and slide. This means the active form is the register form. Then if active form is equal to login, then we only add the show class. This means the active form is the login form. And if it's neither of those, then no class will be added. Now, let's see the result. We can reload first. First, we will try to register. For example, I use the email codehal@gmail.com. Then click Register. We get a success alert message with the text Registration Successful. Then, the form also immediately switches to the login form. This shows that the registration process was successful. Next, let's check the database. We can reload. Okay, in the database, we can see that the ID has been created automatically. In addition, data such as name, email, and password which has been encrypted was successfully added to the database. Next, we will try to register using the same email. If we click Register, then an error alert will appear with the text Email is already registered. And the active form still shows the register form. And the data will not be added to the database. But if we try to register a different email, for example like this, then after clicking the Register button, the new data will be successfully added to the database with the different email. You can see, new data with another email has been successfully added to the database. Okay, after registration, let's test the login process. If we enter the wrong login data, for example like this, and click the login button, then an error message will appear with the text, incorrect email or password. But, if the data entered is correct, and here I use the account with the username Codehal, click Login, then the login process will be successful. And here, the text, Hey Developer, changes to, Hey Codehal. This shows that the login process was successful. Then you can see up here, the login button changes to the user avatar. In this avatar circle, the first letter of the username is displayed. Okay, lastly, we will make this logout link work so that the user can log out of the account easily and also ensure that all user login data is securely deleted so the user's data remains safe. For this logout link, we can point it to the file logout.php. Then we create a new file and name it logout.php. Let me write the code first. Okay, first, we again call the session start function. This function is used to start the session so that we can access the current user session data. Then we add session unset to delete all variables stored in the session. After that, we add session destroy to truly destroy the user's active session, including the session ID and the session storage file on the server. After all sessions are deleted, the user will be redirected back to the index.php page using header. And finally, we add exit to ensure that script execution stops completely after the redirect process, so no additional code is run. Okay, now we reload. Click this avatar, and then we can click Logout. Now we have successfully logged out of our account, then the user avatar disappears, and the login button reappears. In addition, the text below here has also changed back to Developer. Alright, in the end, we have successfully completed building a full-stack website with a login and register form using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, and a MySQL database. I hope this video has provided you with valuable insights and benefits. If you have any questions or if there's anything unclear, feel free to leave a comment below. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, And subscribe to the Codehal channel so you don't miss out on other exciting tutorials about web design and development. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and see you in the next video.